Hey everybody, it's attorney Veronica McClendon coming on today to answer a question that I get a lot. And I decided to do this video today because I was on social media. Someone sent me a link to a video where there was a young man who was educating people about how to set up a trust in less than 5 minutes. And basically, he talked about how you can go on the IRS website where you apply for an EIN and go through the process of applying for an EIN for a trust. And he was telling people basically that this is how you set up a trust. And of course, it's not that easy. You cannot set up a trust in 5 minutes unless you go online and find a template and just fill in the blanks real quick. And I don't recommend that because every trust has a specific purpose. And you don't know if the trust that you have copied off the internet or bought from the internet or wherever you got it from, you don't know if that trust is going to actually help you accomplish the goals that you have. Because we don't just create trusts just to create them. I know that a lot of times on social media, there's a lot of stuff on the internet these days where people are just saying, you need to create a trust. You need to create a trust. And they don't really talk a lot about why you should consider creating a trust. And I'm going to go into a little bit of that today, but that's going to be another topic for another day as well, because there are just so many there's so much miseducation and misinformation about trust and what they can do and who they're appropriate for. Everybody is not going to experience the same benefits from getting a trust because everybody owns different assets and has different family circumstances going on. Some people don't even have the tax liabilities that people are claiming that trust can help you avoid. And so a trust may not even be a vehicle that's going to help you to improve your own life. Now, there are ways that a trust would be helpful, and that's what we'll talk about today. But again, there's still just so much that we will have to talk about, and we'll have to talk about it in some future videos. So what I would like for y'all to do as you're watching this, if you have questions, put them in the comments. That way I can read them and maybe do some more in-depth information about your particular question on an upcoming video. So what we're going to talk about today is when should you consider establishing a trust? This is a list that I've come up with. It's not all inclusive. There may be some other things that you might want to consider, but these are a few things that you might want to think about. First thing, if you own real estate, you might want to consider creating a trust. Now, it's not always the case. You can create a will and leave your property, your real estate to your loved ones through your will, and that's perfectly fine. In some states, we have what's called a transfer on death deed, which is a way that you can say that after I die, my property will transfer to this particular person or these particular people. So that's an option as well in some states. Not all states have transfer on death deeds. But in some cases, you might want to leave your real estate to your loved ones through a trust. Particularly if you have one piece of real estate, but more than one family member that you want to benefit from it. If you leave that one piece of real estate to multiple family members through a will, then that could create some problems in that you have all these people who have a say for one particular piece of property, and they may not all agree on what's going to be the best bet for that property, or they just may not be the best people to take care of that asset moving forward. So you can leave your real estate in a trust and put a trustee over that real estate. And their job is going to be to manage it, to invest it, and make sure that it gets to the people you've named as beneficiaries in the way that you've put in your trust. So the trustee could be a family member. It could be one of the people that you named as beneficiaries. It could be more than one of them, depending on how you set things up. Or it can be somebody outside your family, a professional, to manage it. However you want to set it up, you can leave your real estate to multiple family members and provide instructions on how they can benefit from that real estate if you create a trust. Another reason might be if you own a business and you don't want to leave that business to your family members outright, you could put it in a trust and then it would get to them via the trust. There's some other nuances when it comes to leaving your business in a trust that I don't really want to get into right now, but that might be one reason that you might be interested in creating a trust to leave your business to your loved ones in a trust. If you own complex assets and you want someone else to manage that asset other than the people who are going to receive it, you might consider putting it into a trust. For example, you may have some investment accounts that you want to leave to your children, but you know that your children are not going to make the best investment decisions. They might take the money and just take it and cash it out and run with it if they had the opportunity. And you might want to have a trustee over those complex investment accounts so that they can make investment decisions. They can distribute it to your loved ones in a way that's going to match their needs at the time, rather than just saying, I want to get this money. The trustee can make decisions on whether or not this money needs to be given to them, how much, and what intervals. Or you can put that in the terms of your trust and have it already predetermined and just put somebody over how it's going to happen. So if you have complex assets, the example I gave is probably not as complex as some situations may be, but it's a situation where you own assets and you know that the people who you want to leave those assets to may not be the most responsible or maybe even the most knowledgeable when it comes to managing those assets, and you want to put somebody as trustee who has that expertise. Another reason might be if you have a blended family. For example, you may be married and you and your spouse want to leave your property to both of your children, but you want to do it in a way that's going to be fair to everyone and it's going to make the most sense. Sometimes having things left in a trust can be helpful because you get to put someone else over the assets and determine who gets to dictate how things happen. And you get to provide instructions for how your assets will be distributed. So you might say that if one spouse dies, you'll keep the assets in a trust so that both sets of children are able to benefit from the asset. Sometimes people will leave everything to one spouse and then they expect that spouse is then going to make sure that both sets of children are benefiting. And usually they will do that because they want to honor their deceased spouse's wishes. But sometimes things come up. They don't have malicious intent, but things come up. And it may not feel as advantageous at that time to include the deceased spouse's children in the estate. And so having a trust can kind of put some more, can put some boundaries on there so that the surviving spouse has less wiggle room to change up the plans after the first spouse has died. So in blended family situations, having a trust could be helpful. If you have minor children, leaving assets to them in a trust it's actually a really good practice because you can't leave property directly to minor children. Legally, they don't have the authority to manage it, and so someone would have to go to court and get a conservator appointed in many cases. But if you leave the assets to the children in a trust, then you would have a trustee appointed. Your trustee would already be in place with your estate plan, and they'll be able to take over the property that you leave to minor children and make sure that they get it when they need it and how they need it. Same thing with beneficiaries who have a disability. You might want to create a trust to leave assets to them to make sure that anything you leave to them doesn't go to them directly. One, they may not have the capacity to manage that asset. But two, they may be receiving some kind of financially, some kind of public benefits that require them to be financially eligible. And if something is left to them directly through a will outright, then they may not be able to be eligible for that financial benefit, for that public benefit. So if you leave it to them in a trust, it will go to a trustee, and that trustee can give them the property at certain predetermined intervals at certain amounts in a way that would not disrupt their ability to receive the public benefits. And really, the trustee is more than likely not going to just give a check to the person who's disabled or give them money, but they would buy things for them. For example, they might need special equipment or some kind of special medication that insurance is not covering. the trustee can pay for those things from the trust instead of giving the money directly to the beneficiary who has the disability. That way they can remain eligible for certain needs-based programs that can help them to pay for their expenses as well. Things like Medicaid and SSI, those are some examples. Let's see, what else do I have on my list? So if you believe that there's a potential for you going into a nursing home and you might need to qualify for Medicaid in order to go to pay for the nursing home care, then you might want to consider a trust in that circumstance. Also on the other end, after you die, you might want to have some asset protection in place. Typically, if you don't have some kind of a trust in place or other planning in place, if you use Medicaid to pay for nursing home care, after you die, your state is going to be looking to be reimbursed for the money that they paid for your care through Medicaid. And so in that situation, they may be looking to put a lien on real estate that's in your name, or liquidate your estate so that they can pay those medical bills, those nursing home bills. If you have certain types of trusts, you can avoid some of that, but you have to make sure you do it right. There are some technical rules about how it's done that you want to make sure that you honor, or you might the trust might not work the way you want. And then finally, if you have resources that you are willing to invest so that you can protect what you have and make sure it gets to the people that you have designated, that's a reason for creating a trust. A lot of people, I see a lot on social media, especially in the comments on various things, where people say lawyers are too expensive. I don't think I should have to pay X amount of money to create a trust. And that's all fine and good. But if you have assets that are important to you and you believe that it's worth protecting them, then you will be willing to invest money to do that. I mentioned in the comments on one of the videos I saw where someone said, I don't think it's worth it to pay $7,500 for a trust. And I will say that this was for New Jersey, and so rates are quite a bit higher in states like New Jersey. But then even in Atlanta and other some parts of Georgia, some attorneys might charge that much. And it might feel like, man, like I wouldn't want to pay that much money for a trust. But I've seen people pay $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in probate fighting things out. And so I would pay $7,500 over $30,000 any day. And these people paying the $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, they are in Georgia. So they probably could have paid, their loved one could have paid $2,000, $3,000 to get an estate plan done. And then their family member wouldn't have had to pay these $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in order to fight out these situations in probate court. Think about, this is not the average person for sure, but think about Aretha Franklin's family and Prince's family, and just I think even Chadwick Boseman's family. I don't know all of the details of his situation, but there are all these different celebrities who had a lot of assets to protect, and for whatever reason, they didn't invest some money to get estate planning done. And then their family members are fighting and sometimes paying hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even millions, to fight over things that they left. But if that person had created a trust, their loved ones wouldn't have had to do all that fighting and everything. So I know that it is an investment. It's an investment not only of money, but also of time, because a trust is going to take some extra things in order to manage it versus having a will. It may take time, it may take money, but the stress that you can help your family prevent, the money that you can help them to avoid spending, even the fact that you are working with an attorney to create your trust, perhaps this law firm will be available to help your family members in the future. Just having that as a resource, this connection already established with an attorney or with a law firm that knows your situation, it could be a lifesaver for your family members. I have many clients who say that dealing with probate or dealing with some kind of estate issue for their loved ones was like the most stressful thing that they had to deal with. And just to invest the money to get the trust done while you're living, and help to take some of that off of the plate of your loved ones in the future, I think it's worth it. Getting a trust or a will or any kind of estate plan is not something that's going to be a cheap investment. It's going to take some resources. If you have to start saving up for it now, it might be worth it to keep that from becoming an issue in the future. So it is an investment. It's meant to be an investment, but it can be worthwhile, especially if the things that I just mentioned in this video apply to you. It might make sense for you to consider establishing a trust. So I'm so grateful for the opportunity to talk with y'all about this, and I'm hoping that the information that I share can help prevent some headaches for you and your loved ones in the future. If I can help you out with anything, just let me know. I'll be happy to. I hope that everyone has a great rest of your day. Take care. It's Veronica McClendon with McClendon Law Consulting, located in Macon, Georgia.